This video is brought to you by Maestria Media. Anakin Skywalker paces the confines of his quarters in the Jedi Temple, the familiar walls adorned with his training relics, and the soft hum of lightsaber hilts around him, providing a sense of comfort. The air is thick with anticipation, and the distant sounds of the bustling temple remind him of the camaraderie among the Jedi. Yet, beneath his veneer of stability, a storm brews within his soul. He's a Jedi Knight, sworn to uphold peace and justice in the galaxy, yet the weight of conflict rests heavily on his shoulders. Anakin feels an unsettling dissonance between his duties and the emotions that churn within him. His bond with Padme had grown deeper, filled with secret meetings and whispered promises of a future together, but it was a future fraught with peril. Each moment he spent with her heightens his fear of loss, an emotion which he had been taught to suppress. The very love that brought him joy also tethered him to anxiety, gnawing at him like a relentless parasite. So, when the visions of something terrible happening to the Jedi Order begin to circle through his mind, every night relentless dreams of death and destruction at the hands of the clones, Anakin Skywalker starts to become paranoid. He then starts to spiral deeper and deeper into darkness, especially as the Council stops listening to him. And he wonders what will become of the Order that he so loves. Have you ever wondered what would have happened if Anakin had had a vision of Order 66? Well, if so, then today is your lucky day, because that's exactly what we'll be discussing in this video. So grab your big, warm bowl of Bantha Brew and let's dive right into what if Anakin had received a vision of Order 66. But before we do, if you enjoy what you're seeing, please be sure to like and subscribe, as every little bit of help supports our mission to bring you spectacular Star Wars content. Now, let's get right into the story. One night, as Anakin sits in his bed at the Jedi Temple contemplating the events of the day, the weight of everything settles over him. His mind drifts into an uneasy slumber where shadows dance at the edge of his consciousness. In his realm of dreams, the familiar faces of his fellow Jedi morph into phantoms of terror. Suddenly, the serene visions of Padme's smile twist into nightmarish scenes of betrayal. He sees his brothers in arms, the clones, turning their weapons against their own, firing without hesitation. The echoes of blaster fire ring in his ears, drowning out his cries for help. He watches in horror as the faces of Master Yoda and Obi-Wan twist in pain, their bodies crumbling under the weight of betrayal from their own troops. A chilling sense of foreboding envelops him. "This can't be," he gasps, waking abruptly in a cold sweat. Anakin sits up, his heart racing, breath shallow as he recalls the horrific images of his dreams. "Order 66, he had heard somebody say, in a horrific tone. "Execute Order 66. The extermination of all the Jedi. How could this be possible? The very thought sends shockwaves through his soul. How could this be possible? He feels an overwhelming urgency to understand this vision, a compulsion to protect those he loved from impending doom that seems to loom over them, and the dark cloud that hangs over the galaxy. The dark specter of betrayal enters his mind, and he's determined to uncover the truth before it's too late. Anakin's heart pounds as he swings his legs over the edge of the cot, grounding himself in the present. The temple feels eerily silent, every shadow whispering to him with secrets that he can't decipher. As he stands, he glances out the small window overlooking Coruscant. The sprawling city is alive with lights, yet it feels like a dark shroud hangs over it. The vision of Order 66 clings to him, its implications reverberating like an unending echo in his mind. How could his clones, his brothers, betray the Jedi? The question gnaws at him, intertwining with his deepest fears. Anakin's life had been a constant battle against darkness that he sensed within himself. With each passing day, the line between that light and dark blurred, and he begins to feel himself pulled towards. As Anakin continues to wake up, his thoughts turn to Padme. Their time together is fleeting and filled with laughter, but the reality of their situation weighs heavily on his soul. The galaxy is spiraling into chaos, and he fears for her safety. Every moment spent in her presence was bittersweet. Their love was both a refuge and a vulnerability for him. If the Jedi were to fall, what would happen to Padme? Anakin sank into a meditation posture, attempting to reach out to the Force to gain insight into his visions and to quiet his soul. "Help me, please," he whispers into his stillness, remembering some of the lessons that Qui-Gon had taught him about the living force. Show me what to do. The silence around him deepens, amplifying his sense of isolation. He feels a void where the guidance should have been, a missing connection that leaves him anxious and adrift. Images of the Jedi Order's crumbling facade begin to form in his mind as he sits there. He recalls the council meetings where discussions turned tense, revealing cracks in their unity. The trust he once held in the council wavers. Their indecision leaves a bitter taste in his mouth. He sees their reluctance to acknowledge the growing darkness around the galaxy, their insistence that following the Jedi Code is an unbreakable shield for them. But what if that shield was made of glass? Were they already too late? As the implications of his thoughts begin to sink in, an idea sparks within him. What if he could change their fate? What if he could act before this vision became reality? The urgency surges in him like a tidal wave. He needed to protect Padme, to protect the Republic, and to protect the Jedi. This meant taking matters into his own hands. He rose, resolve igniting within him. Anakin would seek out information about the clones, who had created them, and what their true loyalties were. He remembered a recent conversation with Captain Rex, who had always seemed to exhibit a sense of independence among the clones. Anakin decided that he would reach out to him, perhaps even gather a few trusted Jedi to discuss the growing instability. I can't let this happen, he whispers to himself. With newfound determination, Anakin grabs his lightsaber and clips it to his belt. He heads to his quarters, ready to confront the darkness that threatened his world. The flickering lights of the corridor illuminate his path, each step echoing with the weight of his choices. As he moves through the halls of the temple, he can't help but shake the feeling of dread that wrapped around him like a cold embrace. The urgency to uncover the truth intensifies, pushing him forward. Anakin could not sit idly by while the shadow of betrayal loomed over everything that he cherished. He would find a way to protect Padme, to preserve the Jedi Order, and to stop the dark fate that he had seen in his dreams. The time for action had come, and he would face whatever darkness awaited him with courage. Anakin strides through the Jedi Temple, his mind a whirlwind of thoughts and emotions. Each step feels heavier, weighed down by the urgency that surges through him. He reaches the meditation chamber, a tranquil space filled with a soft light and the calming presence of the Force. He needed clarity. He needed to understand the depth of the vision that had haunted him. Settling onto the cool floor, Anakin closed his eyes and took a deep breath, attempting to center himself. He reaches out with the Force, searching for answers. Show me, he whispers, desperation seeping into his plea to the living Force. The room around him fades, replaced by a swirling mist that envelops him. Suddenly, the mist dissipates, and Anakin finds himself standing on the battlefield of a distant world. The scene unfolds with a brutality that he could hardly bear. Clones in their distinctive armor marched with ruthless precision, their blasters raised against the Jedi who fought valiantly to defend themselves. The air crackles with the sound of blaster fire and the anguished cries of those who dedicated their lives to peace. Among the chaos, Anakin caught sight of familiar faces, friends, mentors, and comrades, each one fighting for their lives. Obi-Wan Kenobi is engaged in a fierce duel with a clone, his lightsaber a beacon of hope amidst this strange storm. Anakin's heart twisted at the sight. He feels the urgency to intervene, to save his brother, but he's frozen, powerless to act. As the vision intensifies, he saw Ahsoka Tano, his former Padawan, surrounded by a battalion of clones. Her expression was one of confusion and betrayal, mirroring Anakin's own internal thoughts. How could this happen? She cries out, desperately looking for answers in the faces of the clones who had stood beside her. Their loyalty was now a weapon turned against her, and the realization struck Anakin like a physical blow. No! He shouts, trying to break free from the vision, but it only deepens, pulling him further into the horror. He sees Master Yoda, an ancient figure illuminated by the flashes of lightsabers as he battles clone after clone, his every move filled with wisdom and ages of seemingly futile efforts against the tide of betrayal. With each familiar face that fell, the weight of despair settles over Skywalker. He feels himself spiraling, consumed by the fear that had haunted him since his first vision, a fear of losing everything that he held dear. This can't be the future, Anakin cries out, desperation mingling with rage. Suddenly, he was thrust into another scene, a war room filled with Jedi Council members, their faces somber as they discuss implications of their failure to recognize the impending darkness. The atmosphere is thick with tension as they debate their next moves, unaware that their very lives are at stake. With a final flash, Anakin sees himself standing among the fallen Jedi, lightsaber ignited, tears streaming down his face as he fights against the very beings that he had trained alongside. "I won't let this happen," he screams, awakening from the vision with a jolt, heart racing, chest heaving with emotion. The chamber is still, but Anakin's mind is still ablaze with urgency. He feels a profound sense of duty igniting within him, an obligation to change the fate that loomed ahead. He could no longer wait for the Council to act. He needed to rally those he could trust and confront the darkness head-on. With determination flooding his veins, Anakin rises to his feet. He would not let fear dictate his choice. He would take action immediately. There was still time to avert this tragedy, but it required him to step into the unknown, to confront his own fears, and to forge alliances that could help him save the Jedi Order. The shadows of betrayal loomed, but Anakin was ready to meet them head-on. The time for preparation is over. The time for action had arrived. Anakin Skywalker feels a storm brewing in the Force, one that brought with it a chilling sense of urgency. After the unsettling vision of Order 66, he couldn't shake the feeling that something catastrophic loomed on the horizon. It was more than just a nightmare. It was a prophecy that threatened to upend everything that he held dear: the Jedi Order, his beloved Padme, and his own destiny. One evening, in the solitude of his quarters, Anakin sits cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by the soft glow of meditation lights. He closes his eyes and reaches deep within himself, seeking the calm that usually accompanied his meditative practice. But today, that peace eluded him, replaced by a tumultuous wave of dread. As he focused, he sees images from his dreams surging back into his mind, clones, his brothers in arms, turning against him and his fellow Jedi, their faces twisted with betrayal and rage. Shaking, he opens his eyes, determined to share these disturbing revelations with Padme and Obi-Wan, two people he felt like he could trust. He could no longer ignore the weight of his fears. He had to do something. Rushing to Padme's apartment, he found her standing by the window, the light of Coruscant illuminating her features. She turns, sensing his turmoil. "Anakin, what is it?" she says, her brow furrowed with concern. "Padme, I had another vision, a clearer one. The clones, they're going to turn on us, on the Jedi. I saw it all. Obi-Wan, the council members. They're being hunted," he said, his voice shaking. Padme's eyes widen, fear creeping into her expression. "Anakin, are you sure? This could be a trick of the mind." "I know what I saw," he replies, the urgency in his tone rising. "I have to warn Obi-Wan. I need to uncover what's happening in the Senate, Padme. There's something dark at work, and it's coming for us." Before Padme can respond, Anakin activates his comlink, connecting immediately to Obi-Wan. As the image of his mentor materializes holographically, Anakin's heart races. "Obi-Wan, I need to speak with you. It's urgent." Obi-Wan's calm demeanor does little to ease Anakin's rising anxiety. "What's troubling you, Anakin?" "I've had visions. Dark ones. Order 66, the clones. They'll betray us, Obi-Wan. We need to prepare. We need to—" "Anakin," Obi-Wan interrupts gently. "I understand your concerns, but the Council has deemed the clones to be loyal. We've fought alongside them for years. Trust in the Force." "But what if they're wrong?" Anakin shoots back, his frustration boiling over. "What if we're blind to the truth? I have to dig deeper, to find the source of this darkness." Obi-Wan's expression shifts, his gaze serious. "You must not act rashly, Anakin. The Council has plans. They know more than you may realize. Trust in the wisdom of the Jedi." But Anakin's resolve only deepens. He could feel the shadows of doubt creeping closer, and the fear of losing everything propelling him forward. The need for answers consumes him. The situation spirals, and he's determined to unravel the dark machinations at play. He turns to Padme, and in her eyes he sees a reflection of his fears, a shared understanding. "Padme, will you help me?" he asks, his voice softer now. "I can't do this alone." She steps closer, placing a reassuring hand on his arm. "Of course, Anakin. Whatever it takes, we'll face it together." With newfound determination, Anakin sets out on his quest for the truth. He was ready to confront whatever darkness lay ahead, fueled by the fear of losing those that he loved. The lines between light and dark begin to blur, but he's prepared to walk the path, no matter where it leads. Anakin stands in the shadows of a dimly lit corridor in the Jedi Temple, his heart racing as he contemplates his next move. The urgent need for answers had propelled him deeper into the heart of the Jedi Order's secrets. He'd begun to piece together the dark tapestry woven around him by poking around not only in the archives, but also in many of the military footage and orders, contingency plans that the Senate had laid out within the clones. He sees that something more sinister and complex is going on than he could have ever imagined. With Padme's support, Anakin had gained access to certain areas of the Senate information that were not accessible to regular Jedi generals. As he navigates this labyrinth of information, the atmosphere grows heavier, the air thick with the weight of hidden truths. The more he searches this information, the more he feels the presence of the dark side lurking at the edge of his awareness, beckoning him closer. After hours of digging, Anakin stumbles across a very secret file buried deep in the Kaminoan archives, encrypted and buried beneath layers of security. His fingers tremble as he input access codes that he had gotten from R2-D2, hoping against hope that it would lead him to the answers that he seeks. As the data begins to decrypt, a wealth of information unfurls before him. Data logs, secret reports, and correspondence that confirmed his deepest fears. He scans the documents, all of the secret communiques, and strangeness that was there, his heart pounding into his chest. There it was, as he had long suspected. When Anakin looks and sees transcripts and information about what had truly happened to clone trooper CT-5555, that horrific day where he had gone rogue against the Chancellor and the Republic, Anakin's jaw dropped. Rex had been right. Something strange had happened then, and he could see now that Chancellor Palpatine had had an immense hand to play in that. As he continues to look, his heart racing, his mind ravaged by frustration for ARC Trooper 5s, Anakin sees that there is more information revealing strange things about the clones and their contingencies, along with Chancellor Palpatine's fingers being all over this. The clones, the battles, the entire war, it all seemed to be part of a larger scheme, orchestrated to foster chaos and division. A sickening realization washes over him as he pieces together the chilling details. Anakin reads accounts detailing Palpatine's clandestine meeting with Count Dooku, leader of the Separatists, that had been recorded and placed stealthily away into his files that R2 had helped him gain access to. Discussing the potential for using war to weaken the Jedi Order, the culmination of this malevolence was the Order 66 command that Anakin finds buried deep in information that the Kaminoans had given about the inhibitor chips. A plan that, should the Republic feel that the Jedi were turning against them and that they needed to control their generals, would allow them to do so with the clones, and the chips would have nothing else to say. Order 66 would brand the Jedi as traitors to the Republic. His stomach churns at the implications. How could somebody he had trusted so deeply orchestrate such betrayal? Flashes of the vision he had experienced returned to him. The faces of his fellow Jedi, their expressions filled with fear and confusion as they were hunted down. Anguish surges within him as he grasps the true magnitude of what's at stake. Anakin feels an overwhelming sense of responsibility to protect his brothers and sisters in the Order, to stand against the tide of darkness that threatened to engulf them all. Anakin? Padme's voice broke through his reverie. Her presence, a grounding force, amidst the chaos swirling in his mind as he continues to dive deeper into this rabbit hole. She'd come to the Jedi Temple to consult with some of the Masters about what was going on in the war, along with provide them with insight as to how to perhaps de-escalate things. Then she steps into the light, her expression a mixture of concern and determination. "Did you find anything in your search?" He turns to her, the weight of the revelations pressing down on him like a physical burden. "Palpatine. He's behind everything. I see it now. He's been manipulating the Clone Wars, playing with my troopers like they're toys, working with the Sith. I've been a pawn to him. He's the one who wants the Jedi destroyed." Padme's eyes widen, a mixture of fear and disbelief in them. "But how can you be sure? This is dangerous information, Anakin. If Palpatine learns that you know, that you access these files..." "I can't ignore this," Anakin interrupts, urgency lacing his words. "I need to confront him. He's using this war as a weapon against us. If we don't act now, we could lose everything. And the council sure as hell won't act. Padme takes a step closer, her brow furrowed and concerned. But how? We're just two people, with a couple of clones on our sides. Maybe a droid or two, against the entire Senate, against someone as powerful as Palpatine. We need to find more allies, to inform the council, to have them on board. Anakin shakes his head, his resolve hardening. I don't trust the council anymore. They're blind to the truth. They see Palpatine as a friend, when he's the one who's pulling the strings. If I go to them, they will dismiss my warnings. They don't take me seriously. We need to confront Palpatine directly. I need to understand what he plans to do next. The urgency in Anakin's voice resonates with Padme, who reaches out and grasps his hand. If we do this, we must be careful. We can't let him know that we're onto him. We have to approach this strategically. Together, they begin to plot their next steps. Anakin feels the tension of impending danger wrapping around them, but this time, it was accompanied by a flicker of hope. There was something about not being a pawn in someone else's game that gives Anakin invigoration. He'd uncovered the truth, and with Padme by his side, along with Captain Rex, who also was very keen on learning more about what was going on, he was ready to take action. The plan ahead was fraught with uncertainty, but Anakin Skywalker would not allow the darkness to claim him, or those he loved, without a fight. That evening, Anakin contacts his esteemed clone captain and asks him if he would be interested in joining the fight. Rex, what I'm asking you would be treason against the Republic, Anakin says, his voice grim. What I'm asking you would be something unthinkable. Rex nods his head. I'm in, sir. What? You're in already? Without even hearing what I have to propose? Anakin says. I'm loyal to you, Skywalker, and I know that whatever you think is going on, I've definitely had my suspicions about too. Rex leans in close. Is this about the Chancellor? Anakin nods. How did you know? He says. Rex shakes his head. I've had my doubts ever since Fives, but now I see. It's been a pointless war this whole time. I'd be happy to join you, Rex says. Thank you, Rex, Anakin responds. Then, Anakin calls his old apprentice, Ahsoka, via comlink as well. She is currently, when Anakin calls her, on the planet of Obadiah, seeing that the galaxy needs more help than the Jedi could provide alone, and that the war had done nothing to deter criminal organizations from acting. Hello there, Master, Ahsoka says. What can I do for you? How are you doing? Anakin informs her of the situation, and asks her if she would be willing to help him. This isn't an official Jedi mission, Snips, he says. This is something more. A personal quest, Anakin informs her. There's absolutely no obligation for you to come, and I wouldn't expect you to. However, I'm asking because I trust you, as does Captain Rex and Padme. Ahsoka considers for a second. I will return to Coruscant, perhaps when this mission is over, she says. But there are no guarantees. I've been all over the place these past few weeks, Master, and I don't know if I'll be able to help. I understand, Anakin says. Well, thank you anyway, Snips. He hangs up the call and looks back to Rex. We might be on our own for this one, Anakin says. Rex smiles. I'm okay with that, General Skywalker, and I'm sure the boys in the 501st would be happy to hop on board. That night, Anakin requests a meeting with the Chancellor the next morning, to which the office of the Chancellor replies with yes. Anakin prepares with Rex, ready to go and confront Palpatine the next day. As the morning approaches, the air is thick with tension as Anakin walks into the lavish office of Chancellor Palpatine. The glow of Coruscant's city skyline casts shadows across the room. He'd come seeking the truth, but now, with the weight of his revelations pressing heavily on his shoulders, he feels the suffocating grip of the dark side lurking just beneath the surface of his consciousness, with Rex near his side. The knowledge that he had uncovered about Palpatine's manipulations stoked the fire of his anger and betrayal, fueling his determination to confront the man who had orchestrated so much suffering. Anakin, Palpatine greets, and Captain Rex. It is good to see you both. His smooth voice inviting, masking the darkness that lays beneath. What brings you here at this early hour of the morning? You seem troubled. Can I offer you some bantha stew for breakfast? I was just about to sit down and have some myself. Anakin's jaw tightens as he fought to maintain his composure. I know what you've been doing, Palpatine. I know about Order 66. The Jedi are not traitors, and I won't let you destroy them. The Chancellor's smile fades slightly, his eyes narrowing. You think you can stand against the tide of destiny? The Jedi are not traitors yet, but they may be. Order 66 is merely a contingency plan for us. If you cannot see that, well, perhaps you are blinded by your own emotions then, Skywalker. You have a unique gift, Anakin. Don't let your clarity be blinded. A flare ignites within Anakin's soul. I don't want to be a pawn in your game anymore, Palpatine. I'm done being manipulated by you. I can see through your lies now. I understand, and I know what you did to Fives. At the mention of that word, Rex stiffens, his face becoming fraught with emotion in a rare display of anger from the clone. Anakin's fists clench at his sides. You've manipulated the Senate. You manipulated the clones, turned the war into a weapon against the Jedi. I will stop you. A flicker of anger crosses Palpatine's face before he quickly masks it with a veneer of calm. You are naive, my young friend. I'm glad that you have uncovered my secrets. I thought it would take longer for you to understand the true machinations that were at play. You are very smart, Skywalker. But you think the Jedi can protect you? Their powers insignificant? They're dying. They're a dying breed. Every organization in power must eventually fall, and they have been in power for thousands of years under the leadership of Master Yoda for centuries. They cannot offer you what you truly desire, but I can. Anakin feels a cold shiver run down his spine. What are you talking about? Power. Palpatine purrs, his voice dripping with temptation. The power to save those you love. The power to prevent loss. You fear for Padme, do you not? You dread losing her as you lost your mother. And I remember what you told me about those Tusken Raiders. Pain flashes across Anakin's face at the mention of his mother, and Palpatine seizes this moment. I can teach you to harness the dark side, to understand the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise. Together, we can bring her back. The Jedi cannot promise you that. They will only tell you to accept fate, and that death is a natural part of life. I can help you control it. No! Anakin shouts, anger surging through him. I won't listen to your lies. Are they lies? Palpatine presses, stepping closer, his presence enveloping Anakin like a dark cloak. I have seen the depths of the Force. In order to understand the great mystery, one must understand both its aspects, not simply the narrow, dogmatic views of the Jedi. I know its secrets. I can grant you the knowledge that you need to save Padme from her fate. You have the potential to be greater than any Jedi. Together, we can rule this galaxy and reshape it as we see fit. The internal conflict rages within Anakin like a tempest. His love for Padme battles against the teachings of the Jedi, the very ideals that he had sworn to uphold. Could he risk everything for the promise of power? The vision of Padme's death haunts him, an ever-present specter that clouds his judgment. Do you want to protect her? Palpatine muses, his voice like honeyed poison. Don't you want to be strong enough to prevent the suffering that awaits her? In that moment of desperation, the memory of Padme's warmth and laughter floods his mind. The thought of her lifeless body sends a fresh wave of panic coursing through him. He feels his resolve weaken, the temptation of power pulling him closer to the abyss. The dark side whispers sweet promises, tugging at his heart, trying to convince him that this was the only way. I could save her? Anakin mutters, torn between the light and the dark. I could save them all. Exactly. Palpatine hisses, his eyes glinting with triumph. Embrace your destiny, Anakin. Join me, and together we can unlock the true potential of the Force. In that moment, Anakin stands at a crossroads, the weight of the galaxy pressing upon him. He felt the fire of rage and fear ignite within him, mingling with the flickering light of hope. The battle between good and evil rages not only around him, but within him, and the decision that he made in this instant would echo through the ages. But could he truly turn to the dark side for the sake of love? Would the price he paid be worth the power that he sought? As he turns to face Palpatine again, the shadows are closing in, and Anakin realizes that he would have to make a choice that would change everything. Then he looks towards Rex. "Sir, if I may," the clone says, standing up straighter. "This man has orchestrated not only the fall of our Brother Fives, my Brother Fives, but also this entire war. He would have been responsible for Padme's assassination attempts. He would have been behind the Viceroy's occupation of her planet when she was a mere child. This man is evil. He doesn't want to save Padme. He wants her dead. She's a threat to him, Anakin. Don't you see, General Skywalker? Don't listen to him." The weight of this moment hangs heavily in the air as Anakin stares deep into the eyes of Chancellor Palpatine, internalizing the words of Commander Rex. The dark side beckons, promising power and the ability to save Padme, but something within him rebels against this seductive call, especially as Rex's words get into his heart. He thinks of his friends, his mentor Obi-Wan, and the countless Jedi who he had sacrificed so much for the gain of the galaxy. He could not betray their legacy. "I refuse," Anakin says, his voice steady, the resolve hardening within him like steel. "I won't join you. I'll expose you for who you truly are." A flicker of anger crosses Palpatine's features, but it quickly morphs into a sly smile. "Do you think you can stand against me? You're but a pawn, Anakin. You don't realize the power that you are turning your back on." "Maybe I am," Anakin shoots back, stepping away from Palpatine's oppressive presence. "But I refuse to let you drag me deeper into this darkness." Anakin turns and strides from the Chancellor's office, his heart pounding with a mix of fear and determination, Rex quickly following behind him. He had made his choice, and now he needed more allies. In this moment, once again, Anakin reaches out to Ahsoka Tano. He wonders if she would be present for their confrontation with the Chancellor. Rex already agrees, as do some of the other members of the 501st Legion. However, Ahsoka is busy on Mandalore, and she's unable to help. However, she does, in fact, promise that she would provide as much aid as she could, especially now that Maul had been captured. She was on her way to Coruscant, and as soon as she got there, she would be able to help out with whatever happened. Meanwhile, Obi-Wan is still on Utapau, dealing with General Grievous, and so Anakin Skywalker forms his little group of clones, and Ahsoka ready to take on the Chancellor. He doesn't tell the Council. He simply makes the unilateral decision that he is going to deal with him himself. "General Skywalker," Rex says, "in our last meeting with the Chancellor, I recorded our interaction with my helmet. I've uploaded it to the Republic Intelligence Database, and I am sending it to the Senate immediately. The Republic Security Council will soon be hearing about it, and I hope that it strengthens our case for removing the Chancellor from office, but if not, we may be charged with treason." Anakin stands silently for a moment. "I know, Rex. That's a risk I'm willing to take. Are you?" Rex nods. "Anything for you, General." "We have to ask fast," Anakin urges, pacing the room back and forth. Palpatine's hold on the Senate grows stronger every day. We need to confront him now. Rex nods. "I'll gather the boys in the 501st. Soon, the day would come when Anakin Skywalker went to confront Palpatine. The next day, Anakin and the 501st pull up to Palpatine's office. Rex puts his helmet on, and Jesse leads a small contingent of troopers with Anakin. Anakin enters his office and ignites his lightsaber. "Chancellor Palpatine, you are under arrest," he says. Palpatine looks at him and smiles. "Ah, so it's treason then, Master Skywalker," he says. He ignites his own blade. "A pity that you did not consider my offer more fruitful." Then he growls and lunges towards Anakin. The clones fire at Sidious, but he bats back all of their shots in an instant. Then, in that simple moment, he utters the unthinkable words, "Execute Order 66." In that instant, the clones turn all of their attention towards Anakin Skywalker. They see his blue lightsaber, and Rex tries to resist, but he cannot control the inhibitor chip's impact on his mind. They begin firing at Anakin. He deflects. "I don't want to hurt you," he says. Anakin can see the pain in Rex's eyes, but the blaster is controlled by the alien within his mind, the inhibitor chip. Now, the clones are no better than the droids, firing at their Jedi General. Anakin is gunned down, almost ready to admit defeat, as Palpatine lunges towards him, his lightsaber ready to slice through Anakin's body. However, Anakin deflects it, and at the last second, he notices something spectacular happen. There, before him, Ahsoka Tano enters the room with her twin blue lightsabers, ready to help her master. Alongside her is a contingent of Death Watch troopers who had just helped liberate Mandalore. "Master Skywalker!" she yells. "Snips!" Anakin says. "Don't hurt the clones!" Then, Ahsoka comes in, ready to deal with Palpatine. She jumps over his head, and their duel begins. The Mandalorians switch their weapons to stun, and they manage to stun all of the clones, except for Rex and Jesse, who continue to fight hard against their advances. Soon, though, they're subdued, the Mandalorians using their superior technology to ensure that the clones are knocked out. Then, it turns towards Palpatine, who deflects all of the attacks from the Mandalorians, along with Ahsoka and Anakin. Your apprentice is powerful, just like you, Anakin. She would have made a wonderful addition to our team," he says. "I don't want to be on a team with you," Anakin says, his ferocity and rage coming out in their battle. "Good, Anakin, good. Unleash your anger," he says. In that moment, though, Anakin recenters himself, reflecting on the living force that Qui-Gon had taught him about. Then, he unleashes a flurry of a power that he didn't even know he had control of, but that he does. In this moment, as he recenters himself in the Force, Anakin uses Force Judgment on Palpatine, igniting him with a blaze of yellow lightning. Palpatine is shocked by this, and he falls to the floor, his lightsaber not being able to deflect the powerful burst from the Chosen One. "I will not be a pawn in your game," Anakin says, continuing to consume Palpatine with Force lightning until everything goes still. Anakin stops. Palpatine still has his lightsaber in hand, but he's breathing heavily, and his face is contorted in pain. Then, Anakin lifts up the Chancellor with his left hand and throws him out the window. "That's that," he says. Anakin then falls to the floor beside his brothers, his clones, panting, ensuring that Rex is okay. "Thank you for your help, Ahsoka," he says. "Oh, the Force was good to us today," Ahsoka says back. "We got back with Maul just moments ago. I sensed your trials, your tribulations, and I came here immediately. Luckily, after you contacted me the first time, Bo-Katan gave me some soldiers to take with me, just in case something like this were to happen." Anakin nods. "Good. Thank you, Ahsoka, for standing by me." Then he turns and looks at Rex. "Let's get these troopers to the medbay." Anakin is swiftly arrested for his actions against the Chancellor. However, when Rex's communications with the Chancellor that were recorded are outed in the Senate, he is acquitted of his crimes. Anakin is hailed a hero, and the galaxy begins to reel from the revelations about Chancellor Palpatine's treachery. However, the threat of Order 66 had been thwarted, and the Jedi were still alive. The Senate acts swiftly, calling an emergency session to investigate these accusations and the evidence that Rex had presented, along with everything that Anakin had compiled on his own from his research against Palpatine. However, Palpatine is dead, his body found in the streets, low in the Coruscant underworld. Anakin, once viewed as a volatile Jedi Knight, had earned the respect of his peers from this, solidifying his role as a leader within the Jedi Order, and being granted the rank of Master. One day, as he stands in the temple courtyard, thinking about the new Chancellor, Padme Amidala, who had recently been elected to lead the Senate following the crazy conflict with the Separatists into a new era of peace. He's surrounded by fellow Jedi who had fought alongside him. Anakin feels a renewed sense of purpose. Padme was alive, his children were about to be born, and the threat of Order 66 had been thwarted. The burden of his past choices began to lift, replaced by the knowledge that he was on the right path. Yet, the damage that Palpatine had done to the Republic was undeniable. Rex had felt so guilty about turning on Anakin, even after his forgiveness. The scars of war would take time to heal, and rebuilding the trust of the galaxy would be a monumental task. In the days that followed, Anakin found solace in his relationship with Padme. With Palpatine's influence gone, they could finally explore the depths of their bond without fear of betrayal or loss. Late nights are filled with laughter and dreams of a brighter future, grounding Anakin as he learns to balance his fears with commitments to the light side and his readiness to raise his children on Naboo. As he holds Padme's hand, the new Chancellor of the Republic, the herald of a peace treaty with the Separatists, and the Chancellor who would head the reconstruction of the Republic, he realizes that true strength came not from power or fear, but from love and unity. Together, they would navigate the challenges ahead, forging a new path for themselves and the galaxy, a path built on hope, trust, and the unwavering belief that light would always prevail.